Welcome to Tabletop Tactics. We are back with an all-new Codex review for an all-new Codex in Warhammer 40,000. Finally, the blood letters of Khorne have descended and given us a World Eater Codex.
Yeah.
We've had a Khorne Demonkin before, which was a brilliant book, by the way.
7th edition?
Yeah, that was 7th.
That was end of 7th, yeah.
Yeah, 7th edition.
Yeah,
that was a great book.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. I loved that book. And now, for the first time, this book has got a newer format in 9th edition. It's a newer format. This book is unlike any of the prior 9th edition codexes. So we're going to unravel it here for you, talk about the army rules, some of the stratagems, the highlights, how the Blood Tithe system works. But before that, if you want even more and for us to dive even deeper into this pool of blood, go check out On Demand. You can sign up over on tabletoptactics.tv, where we also have a top units and combos video, plus another battle report coming, because there's also a battle report out today of the day of this release. We have a Super Smash Brothers battle report coming with a Khitan, Angron and a Scorpion, and oh my god, is it a gore fest. So go check out tabletoptactics.tv and show us some love there. Give us a thumbs up and a like here, because it costs you nothing. Subscribe, it's free. So with no further ado, let's get into this army review. First up are the army rules. This is already the start of something beautiful, in my humble opinion. It's all on one page.
Yay!
It's all on one page. There's no flicking between the detachment rules, which are usually after everything else, before the data sheets happen. It's all on one page.
Yeah. Yeah, so in previous codexes, you'd have been like, cool, here's your, let's take Chaos Space Marines as an example. It's
That's
like,
a good example.
It's almost like it was meant to be. So it's like, you've got your rules, like you can have one Chaos Lord per detachment, one Demon Prince per detachment, and then you get these rules if you do this and these rules if you do that. Okay, cool, where's my cool army rule? Like, let the galaxy burn, where's that rule? Oh, you got to go forward 25 pages before you get to that.
Why?
It's now, it's here, it's done. So like Warp Strike, Demon Engine, those sorts of rules, those little...
Your generic Deep Strike and 5-up Invulnerable Save.
Rules that are on multiple data sheets are now all together with the Battleforged rules. Which
You're not going to be going, where's this?
Yeah.
Why,
My
please?
biggest bugbear, like, so, you know, you just need to find something quickly, is not there. Okay, so with that in mind, you know, we'll talk about some of the other format changes, which perhaps will be more shocking to you out there as they come up. But for now, let's go over the actual Battleforged rules. So actually, it's as you would expect. The World Eaters Legion still get a +1 attack, although it is also when they're charged, this turns first round of combat, and +1 strength.
Oh, you're skipping ahead.
It's not in here.
No, that's not on that page.
Where is it?
It's on that's the detachment rules, which we'll get to in a second, because there's big changes there. This is your standard, your troops get OBSEC. You can't have more cultists than berserkers. You can have one Demon Prince per detachment.
Your relics, your warlord traits.
This is how relics work. This is how warlord traits work. All pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing new or fancy or exciting here. What is exciting is the next page, which is your army rule.
Right.
Blood Tithe.
Yes, the Blood Tithe.
So again, already we can see we've gone over one page and we've got your your army rules are all together with one thing. So,
also mere mortals, you can't have more than World Eater units, because there is a new unit in here called the Jakhals.
Yes.
So they are encouraging you to take, you know, Chaos Space Marines in your Chaos Space Marine army, your World Eaters army, so that's nice.
Also quite nice to see a cultist unit that's actually maybe worth taking.
Yes, yeah, we'll get to that. So, okay, the key core, I suppose, army ability, other than the Legion rules, which, as you've pointed out, are actually further ahead, is the Blood Tithe. So the Blood Tithe are points, or a pool of points that you earn and that you can spend at the end of any phase, including your opponent's phase, throughout the game. The basic way it works is, if a unit's destroyed, including your own, you get a point.
Khorne cares not from whence the blood flows.
Right. If it's a vehicle, you'll get an additional point, although it's not an additional point for every vehicle, it's per phase. If you destroyed 3 vehicles, you'd just get 1 additional point. Same with a monster.
Or a character.
Or a character.
Worthy skulls.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool. So as you can start to imagine, because it's happening every phase and it's also your units, you can accrue these points fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So the real question is, well, what's the cost of these points and what do they give you? Well, what you have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, of course, different abilities that can be spent, ranging from 2 Blood Tithe points right the way up to 6 Blood Tithe points, although we are a little bit disappointed that it isn't 8 Blood Tithe points for perhaps the most powerful one.
Maybe it should be 8, but we'll discuss that later.
It should be, yeah. Okay, so first of all, you've got Spiteful Nullification. So 2 Blood Tithe points, which can be spent until, oh, and here's the thing. All of these last until the end of the battle. So once you've spent it, you just got, the ability doesn't last that turn, it just stays on.
Yeah.
The tithe has been paid.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so they don't stack. There's one that you can constantly redo because we'll get to.
Yeah.
But they don't stack. You choose these at the end of any phase,
Yeah.
and then you do it after you've generated Blood Tithe points.
Right.
So we also forgot to mention that the Titanic also give you an extra one. So if you kill a Titanic character, you're getting 3 Blood Tithe points. One for it being killed, another for it being Titanic, and another for it being character, because those are mutually exclusive, which is very nice indeed. And I believe you can spend multiple, or is it one?
You can, right, here's the thing. You can only purchase 1 per phase.
Sure. Okay.
But you can purchase as many of these Blessings of the Blood God as you wish during the battle.
Yeah, so you could go...
They last.
Yeah.
And by stack, I mean, you can have multiple effects over the course of the battle.
Yes, but you can't buy the same effect more than once.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. So Spiteful Nullification, 2 Blood Tithe. This is your cheapest one. Basically, you ignore mortal wounds on a 5-up.
Pretty tasty against psychic armies.
It is very tasty against psychic armies and accrued very quickly.
Yeah.
So if you are facing your Thousand Sons, your Grey Knights, you know, Tzeentch demons, whatever, this could be a very, very useful ability to have. Obviously situational. Don't worry, there's plenty which are going to be useful in every game that you play. Next up are Warp Blades. These, it jumps from 2 to 4 Blood Tithe points here. With Warp Blades, each time a World Eaters model from your army makes a melee attack, you improve the AP by 1. Now, that is fairly significant given that their chain blades are now upgraded to an AP -2 base for Berserkers. So effectively your army there is at a minimum of -3 in combat.
Rip and tear.
Which is pretty savage in a world where the Armour of Contempt is also gone.
Yep. It's also worth pointing out that these affect every World Eaters model that has the Blood Tithe.
It's just World Eaters keyword.
Yeah, so...
Or not character, it's just World Eaters.
Yeah, so this will also, quite hilariously, make your Rhinos AP1 in combat.
Yeah.
It's covered in spikes.
I mean, it is covered in spikes.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
Next we have Rage Fueled Invigoration, which is 3 Blood Tithe points, so we jump from 4 to 3.
Oh, why didn't they put it in numerical order?
I don't know why they did
God,
that.
it's crazy. They did so well, and then they ruin it.
Now, this is until the end of the battle, again, add 1 to charge rolls made for World Eater, again, just keyword World Eater units in your army. Now, obviously, anything where you add distance or movement to, you know, to charge rolls or anything is, in my opinion, very, very powerful. For 3 Blood Tithe, to have an army-wide +1 to charge is really good. Now, here's the crazy thing, though. Even though that is so good, and it's only 3 Blood Tithe, depending on the army build you're doing, whether you're wanting to deep strike things in and then try and make a charge out of deep strike, it's still one of the weaker ones.
Yeah, I don't think you need it with...
Strangely, it's still one of the weaker ones.
It's not a slow army, so
No.
it's not something you're going to be really pining for.
No,
but
it's so cheap that...
Yeah, it's really
why
useful.
not?
Yeah, it's really useful to have.
It does give you, I think the cool thing with the Blood Tithe is it's going to give you lots of different army composition options. So if you want to do a variety of different builds, you've got ways of amplifying it with these. It's really good.
So now we have Martial Excellence next. Now this jumps up to 5 Blood Tithe points. Again, it is just World Eaters keywords until the end of the battle. Each melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. That's obviously very powerful because anything where you hit once and it suddenly becomes 2 hits is going to be really good, especially when you've got a lot of attacks, which you will do.
And you have so many attacks.
Yeah, you really do. We then jump over to Savage Guidance. It's also 5 Blood Tithe points. This is really, really good as well. And again, just World Eaters keyword, you add 1 to the hit roll for melee attacks. So now your Berserkers are hitting on 2s.
Nice.
Demon Engines hitting on 2s. Savage. Then we go over to Wrathful Devotion, and this jumps back down to 4 Blood Tithe points. Again, it's not in the regular order.
Oh, it's just really upsetting.
It is still World Eater's generic keyword. Each time your army would lose a wound, on a roll of a d6, on a 6, you ignore it. So 6+ feel no pain, effectively. So 4 Blood Tithe points for an army-wide ignore wound on 6s. Yeah, look, it's cheap enough. Actually ignoring wounds on 6s can be really good because it can just keep one thing alive, just that extra, you know, that extra shot or two longer than it should be, which means that your opponent's resource management is going to be pushed. So on things like Demon Engines, on things like Angron, on any high value target, a 6-up ignore wound is actually really powerful. It is one of my more favored ones that I would try and get in early, because the earlier you get it in, obviously the more effective it will be throughout the battle.
I mean, any option for you to get a 6-up shrug you will take because you're annoying like that.
Because it's me, yeah, because I'd probably roll a 6. But look, Wrathful Devotion, very cool. Then you go over to Total Carnage, and this jumps to 6 Blood Tithe points. Again, World Eater's keywords, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target. So this is in melee, so if you're hitting on 6s, if you roll any 6s to hit in combat, it just automatically skips the wound phase, which again is extremely powerful. If you combine that with exploding hits, though,
you get
only one will be automatically.
Yeah, so as per the rare rules, you'll get 2 hits, one of which will automatically wound. You have to roll for the other one.
Roll for the other one.
But it's still a great little combo.
Yes, it is. But that is 6 Blood Tithe, so it's on the higher end of the spectrum. We then finally have Reborn in Blood. This is the big one. It's 6 Blood Tithe points. I think it should be 8.
Yep.
Basically, you place a destroyed Angron model into reserves, and he can come back on your next reinforcement step with 8 wounds remaining.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, it's really
This comes back.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out because I'm sure someone will misconstrue the rules, shall we say. It has to have been an Angron in your army that was destroyed this game, not I lost an No, because seriously, do you remember back when the Blood Angels Codex came out? Someone turned around and said to someone at a tournament, the pre-game move?
Yeah.
Someone said, that says you can only use it once. Yeah, once per game, right? So the rules say once. So if you use it in a previous game, you can't use it. So you have to have Angron in your army. You can't just bring in a wounded Angron in a game.
Unless you house rule it. So if you have a game 8 days, 8 weeks, 8 days, 8 hours ago, you can then bring him back if he wasn't in your army because that's what the fluff is about.
Yeah, precisely. Of course.
It says that.
It's very powerful for 6 because you got to remember that Angron dying gives you 2 Blood Tithe points.
Yeah, he just gives you 2.
So if you've got 4,
third of the way there.
If you've got 4 Blood Tithe points and you kill Angron, you go cool.
You did not kill Angron.
It's also worth noting because they've sort of previewed this on Warcom already, and there's a few people going like, oh, how does it work with like later? You can absolutely bring him back in after turn 3 because he didn't start the game in reserve, and you don't have to have 6 Blood Tithe points when Angron is destroyed. Nope. No. You just can do it as soon as you hit 6. You can go cool. At end of any phase, I'm going to bring it back
and spend it later.
It's also worth pointing out that if you have to spend it before your movement phase.
Yes.
Because you always spend these at the end of a phase, and the reinforcement step will happen before that phase. So you can absolutely do it, but then you will be waiting a turn.
Yeah.
But so have you heard the thing Damocles' sword, where the sword hangs over you? It's Damocles' Angron.
Yeah.
You've just got an Angron. As soon as you've got 6 Blood Tithe points, you've got an Angron in your army. You just wait and you go, might bring him back.
It's a giant Chainaxes.
And you could just do it at the end of your opponent's morale phase, just before you take your next turn. So yeah, it's pretty nasty. Yeah. I'm now 3 pages in, and I'm not skipping ahead to 25 pages. It's still, the layout is still infinitely better. It's the best layout in 9th edition yet.
I will also point out 2 detachments.
Yes, that's it.
Yay! That's it.
Yeah. You don't go, there's not 6 different sub-factions to choose from. There's no custom traits. No. It's, you pick one of 2.
Yeah.
That's your lot.
Yeah. Now, that is obviously, we should address that before we carry on. That is obviously a big hot topic. This book doesn't have the depth of prior 9th edition books with all of that customization. But for me personally, I think that's a good thing. I would rather have it simpler and have something much more effective to look at rather than a bunch of things which you're not going to use anyway.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Because most people are looking, if they're going into those deep dive sort of customization things, they're looking for a competitive build. Well, that will then automatically probably eliminate 2/3 of the things because you're always going to take the best traits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. It's why you always see the same sort of craft world lists.
Yep.
You know, it's why you always see the same sort of customization.
It's
on
either Orthway Hail of Doom, it's either Tau or Farsight.
Yeah.
Maybe not Farsight
Yeah.
anymore, but you know, it's either Goths or that's kind of it.
So I'd rather just have those as the traits.
Yeah.
And you build your army around that. Cool.
It's going to reduce the chances of things being broken, I think. And also,
It's easy to balance.
For a faction like World Eaters, you don't need endless amounts of
That's true,
sub-factions.
yeah.
It's World Eaters. They don't have loads of splinter legions everywhere. They're just World Eaters.
I mean,
there
they
are-
do. They've got loads of
Splinter
war
war
bands
bands,
and they make reference
That's
to
your
them and
paint
fluff.
scheme. You
Yeah.
don't need endless amounts of different
Yeah,
sub-factions. It is good this way.
And it goes further in terms of the complexity reduction because your number of relics and stratagems and warlord traits have finally been reduced.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Which we'll get to those. So in fact, let's just go over the Legion trait and then we'll talk some of the relics and the warlord traits. So as you would expect, it's a +1 attack, +1 strength in the first turn of combat. That's it. So if you've got the World Eaters keywords, your army's World Eaters, that's what you're going to get. It's very powerful, in my opinion, because the base attacks, to account for things like shock assault being gone, are already increased across the army, which you will discover as we go over things like the units. So very pleased with that. You know, it's what I would expect from the World Eaters. With that in mind, let's take a little look at these reduced relics and warlord traits. First up, we have the basic World Eaters, not the Disciples of the Red Angel, which we will get to very, very soon. So what we have are 3 relics and 3 warlord traits.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you get. Good.
And they're not interchangeable.
No, they're not.
So it's if you're taking World Eaters, you get a lot more. We'll get to the Disciples of the Red Angel in a minute.
They're
but
a quirky
basically,
army.
you get 3 relics. Only those you can't take the 3 from the Disciples. Tough. Deal with it. Like it's just these are your options.
Yeah.
Great.
So because normally these books are so deep that we can't actually go over them all individually. It will just take too long for you guys. We can actually go through all of these with you.
Yeah.
We've got the time.
Very
Let's
simple.
do it. So Helm of Brazen Ire is the first one. It's very simple. Each time an attack is made against the bearer, you subtract 1 from that attack's wound roll. So a nice, powerful defensive relic to put on something like a Juggernaut of Khorne, for example. We then have a Berserker Glaive. The Berserker Glaive replaces an Exalted Chainblade or Axe of Dismemberment, so this could go on a Master of Executions or a Lord on Juggernaut.
Or Lord Discordant.
Chaos Lord on foot.
We'll get to the Lord.
Champ.
We'll get to them
Yeah,
quite quickly because there's nothing to get to.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows in this.
No, it's not. It's not, but we'll come to that. So what we have here is the Berserker Glaive. It replaces, for the Master of Execution or the Lord on Juggernaut, it's a Berserker Glaive with +2 strength, -3, damage 2. The -3 and the +2 strength are the improvements over your default one, by the way, on the Lord on
I think
Juggernaut.
it's only strength user AP2, isn't it?
Yeah.
And which is already a good bonus.
Yeah, it is actually. But each time an attack is made with a weapon, if you do an unmodified hit roll of 6, it does 2 additional hits. Interestingly, I think that would stack.
Oh,
with,
yes.
Yeah, so you'll do 3 additional hits if you do the Blood Tithe, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then finally, you have the Talisman of Rage. So in your command phase, you can select 1 World Eater's core unit this time, within 9 inches of the bearer, so quite a generous aura. Until the start of your next command phase, each time a melee attack is made by a model in that unit, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target. Now, it is only on 1 unit. It's not an aura, so I misused the word there, but you select 1 unit, and if it's a unit that you really want to buff up and you know is going to have a lot of attacks, something like an Eightbound or, you know, Terminators or even just your basic Berserkers, it's a really powerful ability to give out.
Yeah, it's nice. You've already got that ability in the Blood Tithe.
You do.
So it's probably not one that you'd always go for, but it allows you to save those Blood Tithe if you were gunning for that and just going, yeah, I'm going to put it on a key unit.
Exactly, yeah. I like the Glaive, personally.
Yeah.
The Helm has a place, but yeah, weirdly probably finds that you often only spending 1 CP on a relic if you want to. You
Well,
might not even need to be completely honest.
You can only spend 1 CP on a relic.
This is correct.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we're
going to
get to that. But my point was going to be that you often won't even buy a relic.
They're pretty choppy without them.
Yeah, they really are. And because you're probably going to end up taking some named characters. In my humble opinion, they can't have a relic anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't buy one, right? So here we go. Warlord traits. We have Favourite of Khorne, True Berserker, and Battle Lust. Favourite of Khorne is in your command phase. If you're on the battlefield, you gain 1 Blood Tithe point. That's obviously a really good one to have because anything which you can accrue those points to spend is going to be good.
Yep.
True Berserker is the next one. Each melee attack allocated to the Warlord, half the damage characteristic rounding up. That is actually a really good defensive buff. But again, weirdly, if you're taking the sort of characters I expect, you might not get to see it being used. And then you've got Battle Lust. This Warlord is eligible to perform a heroic intervention if it's within 6 inches horizontally, 5 inches vertically. Each time the Warlord makes a heroic intervention, it can move up to 6 inches. All of the other standard rules apply. At the start of the fight phase, if the Warlord's within engagement range of any enemy units, it can fight first this phase. That's the really powerful part because heroic intervention at 6 inches is really powerful. To then do it and have fight first is massive.
It's a huge deterrent.
Yeah.
If your opponent's thinking about charging some of your units and you've got that nearby.
Yeah. It's probably the best one. The fight first isn't required via the heroic intervention either. It's just you are always fighting first. If someone charges you, obviously if you're heroically intervening, it allows you to negate that charge if someone's charged. I think that's the best one of the 3.
Yeah, probably is.
Favourite of Khorne is nice.
It is.
But I don't think you need that.
No, because you accrue the points so much. And with True Berserker, I mean, on a Prince, that would really help his survivability. But if you're hiding him well...
and it is rounding up on the
and it is rounding up.
So
I would agree that Battle Lust is the superior choice.
And also, weirdly, you want your characters to die in combat so you can make the rest of your army better.
Yeah. It's a funny
you want them to go in, murder something, and then die in return, so you kind of don't mind.
So those are Warlord traits and relics. Next, we come to a single page of stratagems.
Oh, that's nice. Let that wash over you. Wash over us in blood.
It's great. And you know what stratagems aren't here? Take an extra Warlord trait, take an extra relic. Nope, you can't do it. Tough. You've only got 3 to choose from anyway. As you quite rightly say, you're probably going to want one of the name characters as your Warlord traits because they've got their own unique Warlord traits, most of which are better than the 3 in the book anyway.
And let's be honest, everyone out there that's got all of the books that preceded this one, you only use 15% of the relics available. There's probably 1 Warlord trait you like to use, less than a page worth of stratagems. Everything else is just bump, which is in there for the sake of it. This method, although it might seem massively restrictive, is actually much better because everything has its own place and feels like it's actually worth something.
It's a pleasure to read the book. You know, it's anyway.
As you rightly say, Beard, there's so, I mean, because I was thinking about this the other day, I was like writing a list and I go, why would I ever take, like, it's a cool relic, but I'm never going to take it because this is just so much better. You know, it's that aspect of it is solved. You know, sort of in a way. So it like you say, it feels like less of a choice, but actually it was a false choice anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
When was the last time you took Fear Made Manifest on a Space Marine Captain?
Or any of
You're taking Imperium Sword.
Any of the little pistols. You know.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
so right, stratagems. We have 8 stratagems. Great. We've got Red Butchers, Gory Dismemberment, Skulls for the Skull Throne, Scorn of Sorcery, Icon of Wrath, Smokescreen, Aggressive Intervention, and Blood Frenzy. Now, some of them there are basically copy and paste jobs which do what you would expect, namely Smokescreen, -1 to hit on a Smokescreen unit, like a Rhino, for example.
Scorn of Sorcery is the classic 4-up deny.
4-up deny within 24 inches, really cool. Only 1 CP, which has always been a powerful thing. Then what we have is Red Butchers for 2 CP. This is for World Eaters Terminators or Eightbound.
Or Red Butchers,
Yeah.
Stop it.
That is how you get red butchers. You have to use this stratagem.
You have to use this strat,
every fight phase.
Until the end of the phase, yes, it is in the fight phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. Now that is really powerful.
Good for 2 CP.
That's really powerful. And I can tell you now, having played a couple of games as well, the Terminators are really good. They're really, really good anyway. So having that ability to put the extra damage on them is pretty nasty. You then have for 1 CP, this is really cheap what it does. Gory Dismemberments, World Eater's core or World Eater's character unit in the fight phase. Until the end of the fight phase, each unmodified wound roll of a 6 does a mortal wound in addition. Now they have capped it, they have been smart, it's a maximum of 6. But
the unit can inflict a maximum of 6,
the unit.
not inflict a maximum of 6 per enemy unit.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Kassakin.
Yeah, exactly, because there are some things that can do that. Now, this is just 6 mortal wounds maximum across any enemy unit. So if you're in engagement range of 2 or 3 units, it can only be a maximum of 6. But for 1 CP, given the amount of the volume of attacks that pretty much all of your units have in this book, it's quite easy to get those mortal wounds through.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for only, again, it's just 1 CP. Then you have Skulls for the Skull Throne. So this is a 1/2 CP strat. You use this stratagem when an enemy warlord is destroyed by a melee attack by a World Eater's character from your army. Then you can select 1 or both of the following. You either gain 2 additional Blood Tithe points, so that's again really good, or until the end of the battle you can add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for that World Eater's character that just killed the warlord. So if you select 1, it's 1. If you select 2, it's 2. Obviously, you can do that on someone like Angron, so that he's then getting a permanent, adding 1 to advance and charge.
And bring himself back to life.
Yeah,
Yep.
Khorne, Lord, Juggernaut, you know, it's a powerful thing. But 2 Blood Tithe points, an extra 2 Blood Tithe points is obviously...
That alone is great. It is quite niche because you need a character to kill the enemy warlord, and it's warlord, not stuff with warlord trait. But when it comes up for 1 CP, you're effectively getting 4 Blood Tithe points because you've killed a unit, 2 additional from that, and then killing a character at the end of the phase as well.
Yeah, it's good. And then finally, well, you've got a couple more. You've got Blood Frenzy, which is also 1/2 CP. You use this stratagem in the fight phase. It is a World Eater's core unit from your army that's within engagement range of an enemy unit. Until that enemy unit's attacks have been resolved, each model that's destroyed by a melee attack, don't remove it. Basically, you get to fight on death. So if for some reason they've interrupted and they kill your Berserker unit before you even get to strike, well, actually, you're going to be able to strike with them. Now, it costs 1 CP if it's a troops unit. It costs 2 CP if it's any other unit. So, i.e. Terminators, Eightbound, etc.
Hellbrutes.
Hellbrutes, because they are core.
Fighting on death, Hellbrutes.
Oh.
Then you have Aggressive Intervention. This is 1 CP. It's used in the Heroic Intervention step of your opponent's charge phase. Select 1 World Eater's core. Yes, can be a Hellbrute, because they are core. And they are eligible to perform a Heroic Intervention as if they were a character, except it is 6 inches.
It's nice.
Yeah,
It's nice for a CP. It's a good little objective deterrent.
Yeah, it is. And finally, you have the Icon of Wrath for 1 CP. It's a World Eater's icon unit, which, if my memory serves right, can basically only be World Eaters.
I think it's only the Berserkers, yeah.
The only ones that can have an icon. Until the end of the phase, each time you make a charge roll for that unit, roll 1 additional D6 and discard the lowest result. So for 1 CP, you can charge on 3D6, pick the 2 highest. Again, that's the sort of thing which gets you into combat in a pinch when you sort of really need those extra bit of luck. That's it.
Yep.
Then there's a new detachment, the Disciples of the Red Angel.
This is your sub faction, Army of Renown type thing, because there are restrictions.
Yeah.
You can only take certain units in this.
Yeah.
One of which must be the big man himself.
Oh, baby, please.
Angron. So your army must include Angron, and that model must be your warlord. Okay,
He has to be anyway.
Yeah. Your army can only include Khorne Demon units and World Eater's Chaos Land Raider units.
So you can have a patrol detachment of Khorne Demons with this.
Yes,
because it's Khorne Demons.
Yep.
Yeah. It's also worth pointing out, just fun little fact before we carry on, because we noticed this the other day when we were looking for it. If you are taking a Demonkin style army, like with some Bloodletters or some allied Khorne in a patrol detachment, it's when any unit dies, it doesn't have to be when any World Eater unit dies or when a World Eater unit destroys a unit. So you could have, oh no, I've brought in my unit of Bloodletters and they died. Have a Blood Tithe. My Bloodthirsters killed a tank. Have 2 Blood Tithe. Which is really cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
This is the way you make a Demonkin style list. Now, it does mean that you won't have any Berserker units or Terminator units in, but 8-bound units will gain the objective secured ability in this detachment, which is quite cool. Yep. It is funny that they let you have the Land Raider units, but I suppose that's the way they get the firepower back in and the transport option for your 8-bound.
I'd rather they'd have just gone, no.
Yeah.
Like, you know, no.
Well, this is where we should also bring up, like, I really feel that they should have kept the Lord Discordant in this book.
Oh, it's such a shame.
Spoiler alert, Lord Discordant is not in this book.
There's a lot
all
of
of Fiends are, Helldrakes are, so I don't get it.
It's really weird. And he's got a chain glaive.
Forge Fiends in here. That is a
they
really good question.
Forge Fiends are in there.
Forge Fiends are in there.
Yeah, he's literally got the perfect weapon to be the Berserker.
Yeah, they are.
It's not an axe though. That's the problem. Whereas
it's a chain glaive.
yeah, but this guy has an axe, which is far more corny.
I guess.
But
chain glaive.
I just think the Lord Discordant should be in a World Eater book. Like,
there's a bunch of stuff that you can't. So there's no Chaos Lord on foot.
There's no Raptors.
There's no Raptors. There's no Bikers. There's no.
No Warp Talons.
No Warp Talons. There's no. Oh gosh, what are they called? Exalted Champions.
No.
There's no Dark. There's no Possessed. You've got the 8-bound, I suppose, but there's no Dark Apostle. What? Khorne doesn't like prayers? Come on now.
Yeah. Again,
it's just
some strange missions, which
if you're playing at a friendly. If you're playing at a friendly store, playing with mates, or I would argue at like a narrative event, chat to the TO and be like, would you mind if I took a Dark Apostle? I'll pay the 15 points.
There are people that have got them painted for sure.
Yeah.
And they're Lord Discordants, like us, for example.
We've got a Lord Discordant.
Yeah. I'll pay the 15 points for the Mark of Khorne from the Chaos Space Marine book, but can I put him in there and have him with Blood Tithe instead of Let the Galaxy Burn and give him the Khorne traits? It's not going to break the game, quite frankly. No. Certainly not in a friendly event.
Yeah, just an odd one to not have it in.
Especially when you've got so many demon engines available.
Yeah.
It's odd.
Kind of get why, because you look at the Thousand Sons, you look at the Death Guard, they have got around about... There's actually less Thousand Sons units than there are World Eaters units. I think Thousand Sons have about... Thousand Sons have about 21 and World Eaters have about 23. It's not... I mean, that's very much splitting hairs, but it is that kind of... It's like they're trying to go, these are the very bespoke and special legions, and I get that, but they need more stuff until they get their own unique stuff. Especially when you go, okay, cool. Do I get Red Butcher Terminators? No, you get the basic Terminators.
Yeah, because they didn't actually give you a new.
There's no new
World
Terminator
kit,
which is
Death
odd.
Guard and Thousand Sons do have them.
I find that particularly weird.
I would rather Red Butchers, and I'm sure most people would rather the Red Butchers over the 8-bound.
Yeah, same.
The 8-bound are cool. Then there's other weird choices. Like you get some new units like Lord on Juggernauts.
Yes.
But you don't get Berserkers riding Juggernauts, which is, come on now. That's such the biggest missed opportunity.
You can see that coming down the line.
Exactly.
Like, there will eventually be new...
Until then, run your 8-bound as Berserkers on Juggernauts, because that would be sweet.
And there's no Bikers in here either.
No, there's no Bikers. You get Spawn, though.
Yeah.
Why?
Right, well, let's go back to the Disciples of the Red Angel.
Tangent over.
So we know the army rules. Their Legion's trait is Relentless Rage.
It's the same.
So add 1 to the strength and the attacks characteristic of models in the unit in the first round of combat. So they've got 3 relics and they've got 3 demonic infusions, they're called, and then they also have a page of 8 stratagems. So relics wise, they've got the Burning Plate, which is adding 1 to your armor saving throws for the bearer and adding 1 to the bearer's wounds characteristic. So Demon Princess could work well on, for example.
Do Demon Princess have 8 or 9 wounds?
I think it is 8 wounds, you know. Otherwise, it would tip them
because
over.
if they've got 9 wounds, that you just make your Demon Prince targetable, which would be hilarious.
They are 8 wounds.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it really would.
Like I've done this. I've made him beefy. Oh no.
We then have Soul Burner. Replaces the Infernal Cannon and has the following profile: 12-inch range, assault 2d6, strength 7 -2, and it automatically hits. Look, it's cute.
That's the Demon Prince gun. Yeah, it's because the new kit comes with a gun that is built into the cost now.
Yeah.
So if you've got an old one or you've decided not to model it with the gun on, he's just breathing fire. Just call it that. He's shooting eye beams.
The Skull of Angron, in your command phase, select 1 enemy unit that's visible to the bearer until the start of your next command phase. Each time the bearer makes a melee attack against a selected enemy unit, you can re-roll the wound roll. I mean, that re-rolling wound rolls is really good. But yeah, the Soul Burner for me is the sort of weaker choice there if I was going to take a relic.
But they all feel quite cute.
Yeah,
Fluffy.
cute. Right, Demonic Infusions. When mustering your army, you can select one World Eater's 8-bound unit from your army, and then they can select one of the following Demonic Infusions. The first one is Drawn to Power. Each model in this unit counts as 2 models when determining whether they're in range of an objective marker or control of an objective marker. And don't forget, they are objective secured in this detachment as well. Mutable Form. Each time a model in this, with this ability makes a melee attack, an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts 1 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage, but it is capped at 6 mortal wounds.
I was going to say.
And then finally you have Brazen Skin. Each time a model would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, not just any wound. On a 4-up, that wound is not lost.
That's pretty cool.
It's quite
It's
nice
cool,
to
but it
have.
is only against mortal wounds.
Yeah.
It's not like an ignore wound across the... If it was like ignore wound...
Oh, if it was a 4-up against everything.
it would suddenly be ultra competitive.
Yeah.
But there we go. That's the army rules.
It's worth pointing out the reason why you have those demonic infusions is because Angron has to be a warlord and his warlord trait is set if you take a warlord trait at all. And remember, there's no additional way of getting extra warlord traits. But those are free. They don't cost you a CP like a warlord trait or a relic would do.
True.
So it's a
an
nice
ability.
little bonus to have if you are running a already limited army.
Okay, let's cover the strats, shall we? Gratuitous Bloodletting, 1 CP. It's in the fight phase. Select a World Eater's unit, so again, doesn't have to be core. Select 1 unit within engagement range of that unit that is below half strength. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in the World Eater's unit makes an attack against the selected enemy unit, add 1 to the wound roll.
That's
so
cool.
Against a wounded unit, you know, that's below 50% strength, you can really tip over the balance in killing them with adding 1 to your wound roll. So it is only 1 CP, but situational. They need to already be wounded first. The next one's Blood Scent, 1 CP. Use the stratagem in your opponent's movement phase. When an enemy unit with an engagement range of any 8-bound units from your army falls back. After the unit's finished the move, select 1 8-bound unit from your army that's within engagement range of that enemy unit at the start of the phase. That selected unit can immediately consolidate, and when it does so, each model in that unit can move up to 6 inches instead. So, enemy unit falls back from 8 bounds, the 8-bound goes, cool, I will consolidate now and I can move up to 6 inches. Yeah. Now, if for some reason that enemy unit's slow, maybe they've only got a 5-inch move or something.
Or a 6.
Or a 6.
Or a 6. Get within engagement.
Yeah, you're just...
It's a problem for them. It's a problem.
Which is quite funny.
Yeah, the other interesting thing as well with that is that it's after the enemy units made that move, if they were in engagement range at the start,
you still make the consolidation move even if you're in engagement range with something else. So you could just go, they abandon their friends and they're just, and then all of their mates are just like, don't worry, we'll be following you. You go, no, cut off the escape.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice utility piece for only 1 CP.
And that'll impact the majority of armies as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's not, outside of like Harlequins and Baby Eldar, there's not a huge amount with more than a 6-up move outside of vehicles.
Even then, you go, okay, cool. They've just pressed the gap. Yeah. They've maybe cut off an advance
or
somewhere else, or taken an objective, especially considering that your 8-bound are all OBSEC.
Yeah, which is
nice
really good. The next one's Furious Surge for 1 CP. Use the stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase. After an enemy unit has finished making its attacks, select 1 8-bound unit from your army that had 1 or more models destroyed as a result of those attacks. The 8-bound unit can make a normal move as if it were your movement phase. That's really good for 1 CP.
Because they've got a 9-inch move.
Yeah. We then have Diabolic Machines, 2 CP/1 CP. Use the stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 World Eater's Machine Spirit or 1 World Eater's Demon Engine model from your army that has characteristics that change as it suffers damage. Until the start of your next command phase, that model is considered to have its full wounds remaining for the purposes of determining that characteristic on its profile. If the model has the Titanic keyword, then its costs 2 CP. So Brass Scorpions, Kaitans, Lord of Skulls, it will cost 2. Everyone else, it will cost 1. Apoplectic Frenzy. This is 1 CP also. You use it in your movement phase when a World Eater's unit from your army is selected to advance. Don't roll the roll, just add 6 inches to the move characteristic. Cool. Nice and easy. Violent Dismemberment, 1 CP. Use the stratagem in the fight phase when a World Eater's unit from your army destroys an enemy unit. Until the end of that turn, that unit gains the following ability. Violent Dismemberment, which is an aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this unit, subtract 2 from their leadership characteristic and subtract 1 from combat attrition tests taken for that unit. Yeah, I mean,
Alright.
fine.
I mean, the weird thing with like morale checks and stuff, especially given this army, you've only really got Forge Fiends and you've got Demon Engines to do your shooting for you.
Yes.
So you need to have killed something and be in the thick of fighting to cause morale checks.
Yeah.
And generally, unless you're fighting like one model in a unit,
Yeah.
most World Eaters units are cleaving through units to the point where they were already going to fail morale or they're dead.
Or they're dead, yeah.
So in like a multiple combat scenario, it's not going to come up all that often. It's nice, it's cute, but it's definitely in the, that can sit at the very bottom of the 8-card maybe pile.
Terrifying Assault, 1 CP. Use a stratagem in your charge phase. When you select any enemy units that are target of a charge made by a World Eaters unit from your army, that enemy unit cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend. That's obviously very useful for many reasons. And in the subsequent fight phase, each time a model in that enemy unit makes a melee attack, they subtract 1 from the hit roll.
It's great.
Really powerful
Great
for 1
CP.
CP. Shut their Overwatch down. And if you try and hit me back, it's at -1.
Yeah.
Nasty.
I also love the fact that you could do that on a Land Raider because it's just a World Eaters unit.
Yeah, it's not core.
I mean, if a Land Raider's charging at you, it's pretty terrifying.
You then have, finally, Bloodthirsty Determination, also 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your charge phase. When you select a World Eaters unit from your army to charge, until the end of the phase, you ignore any or all modifiers.
Cool.
Great, so no difficult terrain, nothing like that. You know, fine. It's a quirky list. Is it going to be the competitive way to run them? I think that remains to be seen. Possibly, because the 8-bound are really good. I think the lack of Berserkers and things like Rhinos and some of those cheaper units to help build the Blood Tithe up might mean that it doesn't become the go-to choice, but you can certainly have a lot of fun for it, and I look forward to seeing what people do with the build. So those are the army rules. Now, what we'll do is we do have top units and combos over on demand. What we'll do is we'll briefly talk about some of the changes that you've seen to the World Eaters. We've already mentioned the units which aren't in here, but in order to actually see our top units and the combos and how we would put an army together with some powerful abilities, jump over to On Demand. You can check out that video now. So let's go over some of these new units next. New units. We've got to talk Angron first.
He's a big boy.
Big Red!
We're going to go into Angron because he is one of our top units. We're going to go over him in serious detail over and On Demand. But suffice to say, he's got a 16-inch move. Obviously, he hits on 2s, strength 9, 18 wounds. The only thing that degrades in his profile is his movement and his attacks characteristic. His attacks characteristic starts at 12 and goes down to 8. So he's always got loads of attacks, even when he's at his bottom profile. He's got 2-up saves, he's got a 4-up invulnerable. He doesn't have wounds capping or anything like that.
Because you revive him.
Because you can revive him. She's discovered with the Blood Tithe.
Yeah, that lower movement doesn't really matter when you just deep strike back down anyway and go, I've got to make a 9-inch charge regardless.
Yeah. He's an absolute beast. Yep. He acts like a chapter master as well. He can give a core unit reroll hits or a character unit reroll hits, which is quite cool. There isn't too much to say about him other than the fact that
he's quite a simple piece.
He is a simple piece. He will maul whatever he wants in combat. He kills most things in the game in combat. His
as you'd expect.
As you'd expect. You know, his skull-taking slash will effectively make him strength 15 on the charge. -4 damage D3 +3. Or he can do 3 attacks for each attack with the Bloodletting Sweep, which is strength user, but he's still strength 9 base at -3 damage 1. But he can just kick out so many attacks.
Because remember, he'll have 39 attacks if he's fully healthy on that sweep. At strength 10 on the charge.
He plays as you'd expect him to play.
Yeah, he can give out 1 of 3 different auras each turn as well, which is also really useful. Things like a reroll hit roll of 1, or a 6-inch aura of not being able to fall back, or adding 1 to the attacks characteristics of World Eaters core units. You know, really good. And then finally, he's got a fixed Warlord trait, which is called the Red Angel. While an enemy unit with the objective secured abilities within 6 inches of the Warlord, it loses that ability. That's a competitive...
he still only counts as 1 model, though.
He does,
So you're not... If you're fighting over someone and someone's got 2 models near it, you're not taking it away. Yeah, he's a simple creature. He is only toughness 7, and he's got 18 wounds. So he's targetable, won't benefit from dents. But because of that... you can just frontline him.
And interestingly, his profile is quite slim, so weirdly you
Compared to
can
Magnus
hide
and
him.
Bellicor.
He's
Yeah,
the
and
one of the smaller-
Mortarion, they've all got quite splayed out
Yeah.
wings, but his are kind of going backwards, so you can hide him.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
To an
you've got
extent.
like true LOS, you can hide him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a blunt instrument, but he's a very, very good instrument.
Yeah, with a 16-inch move, it makes him a massive threat.
Yeah, you have to
Massive
deal with him
threat.
turn one.
Yeah. Next, we're not going to go over Khorne or anything like that. We'll talk about that over on demand. But what we do have is the Lord Invocatus, and we have a Lord on Juggernaut. Now, it's the same kit. So happy this model's come back for obvious reasons. I can start to use the one that I made years ago again, which is nice. Plus, it's a really cool model. You know, it's cool to have a Khorne Lord on a Juggernaut. That's epic. So, first of all, you got the Lord Invocatus. Now, for me, this is the problem with the Lord Invocatus is you're pretty much always going to take the Lord Invocatus over the Lord on Juggernaut, in my opinion. Because he's just better. He hits on 2s, 12-inch move, 8 wounds, strength 6, toughness 6. He's got 7 attack space, and he's got a 2+ save. Now, over the Lord on Juggernaut, that's a better save. But here's the big thing before you even get to the rules. He's got the fly keyword, whereas the Lord on Juggernaut does not. And having fly is just hugely powerful. You really need fly in this game, especially, you know, with all of the terrain which is on a 40k board. Having fly is just invaluable. It just makes him so much better than the Lord on Juggernaut that I can't justifiably compare them.
He's also
with that
faster.
alone.
He's got a 12-inch move over a 10-inch move.
Yeah. So it's just, you know, the Lord Invocatus for me is the way to go. Now,
Remember,
he's-
you can't fly through walls
No.
in the
No.
charge phase, but you
No.
can in the movement
Yeah,
phase.
but getting there.
Because he's cavalry.
Yeah.
I guess it's representing his speed. I'm not sure why he
I'm
flies.
sure in the fluff it mentions that he because he's like the outrider, he's like the raider. So I'm sure that basically his because he's got like a named Juggernaut, and this is like the fastest of the Juggernauts, and it like runs through the warp as well. So it's like teleportation.
Yeah.
It does allow him to charge a plane, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's actually got rocket boosters in the hooves.
Very corny.
He's armed with Coward's Bane, which is a strength user axe, -3 damage 2, but you can't take invulnerable saves against it, which is really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great.
It's obviously got a 4+ invulnerable save as well. His aura is called Leading the Charge. Friendly World Eaters core units within 6 inches of the model. Each time that unit is selected to make a normal move or advance until the end of the phase, you add 2 inches to the move characteristic of models in that unit.
And those are just core units. So
Yeah.
that is your 8-bound. Oh, they've suddenly
Yeah.
got an 11-inch move. Your Hellbrutes.
Yeah, that's actually really good because that's not as a Warlord trait. That's actually just an aura. So having an 8-inch move on your Hellbrutes and stuff, I think is really powerful.
Also enables him to have a bodyguard of sorts in your 8-bound or Berserkers without him giving up too much speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he is your Warlord, he gets quite an interesting Warlord trait. Road of 8 Bloody Steps. The start of the first battle round before the first turn begins. You can select 2 friendly World Eaters core units within 9 inches of the Warlord, and this unit and the selected units can each make a normal move. Now,
That will get you +2.
that will get you +2.
Yeah, if you've got 2 units of 6 8-bound and you win the roll off of turn 1, that's a 22-inch move for them turn 1.
Yeah. Now you immediately go, well,
You've got Angron as well. Oh dear, everything's dead.
That's the thing. You immediately go, well, this in a Red Disciples army is going to be amazing, but you can't because Angron has to be the Warlord.
And there's no way of getting extra Warlord traits. Of course,
So-
it's almost like that was force about.
Yeah. So you can't break the game. I see you out there,
that's
you
it.
game breaker.
Look, the Lord on Juggernaut has a worse Exalted Chainblade. You can give him the Relic, but you know he doesn't move as fast. He doesn't have as good a save. He's only got a 3-up save as opposed to a 2-up. He does still have the Leading the Charge aura, but you know,
is, of
just
course,
objectively,
cheaper.
yeah, he is. But the Invocatus is just so much better that I just that's all I have to say about that.
You've got a Master of Executions, but he's a HQ. He's your only foot HQ apart from Khorne.
Yeah, but you know we'll talk about them in the other video. Berserkers wise, they do what you would expect them to do, but the key thing I wanted to highlight is the Blood Surge ability. So each time the an enemy unit is selected to shoot, if any of those attacks target this unit, after that enemy's attacks have been resolved, if any models in this unit were destroyed by those attacks, the unit can make a Blood Surge move. If it does so, any actions this unit is performing fail, but if you pay for an icon, they don't fail.
Which
so
you will.
Basically always do the icon. It's only like 5 points as well. And basically they move D6 inches
Off they go.
towards the enemy unit, which
Scary.
Is it the closest enemy unit, or is it the unit that shot them?
it says each model in this unit can be moved to distance, but must finish this move as close as possible to the closest enemy unit.
So you can't like shoot them with something really far away and bait them away from stuff. So that's good.
Now you're not allowed to do it on the turn that you've come out of a destroyed transport.
New.
So you're not going to get the extra move that way. But it is a really powerful ability to have. Because anything where, I mean, you know, you could go and seal an objective with that in theory.
Yep.
You know, there's lots of, any cheeky additional move is a powerful thing. You've got some new weapon options as well. The Khorne Eviscerator, which you're strength 5 base instead of strength 6 for the Berserkers, but you'll effectively be strength 6 in the first round. So that will bring you all the way up to strength 9 on a Khorne Eviscerator. There is no minus to hit with it, and it's a -4 armor and it's damage 2, which is really cool.
Also, fun fact, it doesn't replace your pistol, so you still get your pistol
That's
if
right.
you want.
Yeah, they're a really good unit. 4 attacks base, 5 on the first round of combat. They're savage.
One thing that we did neglect to mention with the Blood Surge, you can use that to move into an engagement range.
Yes, yes.
Only on the closest enemy unit. So if there's if there's a unit which is just behind them, you can't use it to lap round. Now, of course, you can consolidate into them, and you won't count as charging. But so you'll be giving up the ability to get your bonus strength and attack. But remember that this will be happening in your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
So you'll be fighting first.
But nice that.
We then have Jakhals. Now, as per
cultists.
the models, in
Good
my opinion,
cultists.
are sick.
They're
so
so
cool.
good.
They're so cool.
I think it's one of the best outside of Angron. One of the best. My favorite new unit in the range, actually.
Yeah, I really like them. They feel quite grimdark to me. That said, you can't take more units of them than you have existing World Eater Butcher units, which is 8-bounds, Terminators.
Much like Poxwalkers and Zangor, you've got to have actual Marines before you can just.
You can't spam these, you know, without having actual Marine units. I would say actually for their points, because they are only 7 points a model, they're actually really quite competitive.
Yeah.
I could see these popping up in competitive World Eater armies because they're expendable. They'll give you Blood Tithe. They'll do actions, and they can actually really smash in combat.
Yeah.
They've got 3 attacks base, these guys. There is a damage 2 weapon on there as well. Plus, they've got a couple of models which can take Skull Smashers, which are also damage 2, but they make 2 hit rolls instead of 1. And because they're 3 attacks base, plus 1 in the first round, so 4 attacks. That's crazy. That's 8 attacks.
Yeah, it's only the Dishonored that get that, isn't it?
It's only Dishonored.
So
you
they're
can have
1 to 2.
1 per 10.
And you can take these guys in blobs of 20. Whether you did that or not, and just ran MSU's units of 10, which is probably what I would do. And also they've got Jakhal Skims. So once per battle, you take D3 mortal wounds in the unit, but you then get +1 to strength strength characteristic, which they are only base strength 3.
With that weight of attack.
Although the Dishonored's base strength 4, so he then becomes strength 5.
Yeah.
They're a good unit.
It's interesting.
They're a good unit. When you need cheap stuff in this game to take objectives, do actions, do all that sort of jazz, so your Berserkers can just run off. They fill that void really well.
Also, fun fact with them, because they are like favoured cultists, you don't get normal cultists in this, but because they're more favoured, they do benefit from the Blood Tithe and Relentless Rage. So they are 4 attacks at strength 4 on the charge.
They feel like a part of the army rather than being like, oh, and also cultists are here, like you do a Chaos Space. They feel like they have the bloodthirst and they're worthy to an extent.
Yeah, I'm glad that GW did introduce that new unit. I'm not glad they didn't introduce World Eater Terminators, but it is what it is. Instead, we have the 8-bound and the Exalted 8-bound. Again, same kits. The Exalted 8-bounds are really good. Are they an auto take over the regular 8-bounds? Well, I guess that remains to be seen. Profile-wise, the difference is the Exalted hit on 2s, whereas the 8-bound hit on 3s. Now, we do know via Blood Tithe that we can get you to hitting on 2s relatively easily anyway. You don't have a better save, you're not stronger, you don't have...
a 4-up invuln on the Exalted.
You do have a 4-up invuln, which is significant to be fair, whereas the 8-bound only have the 5-up. Both have a fearsome aura, which is a -1 to leadership of enemy units within 6. Now, the key difference here, and this is where it becomes a bit more interesting. Eightbound have Blood Scent, which effectively allow you to be put into strategic reserve and appear on turn 1.
Yep, you can arrive a turn earlier. So turn 1, you can arrive as if it was round 2. Round 2, you can arrive in your opponent's deployment zone, basically.
Now, the Exalted Eightbound don't get that rule.
But they do have innate deep strike.
They do have innate deep strike, but they can't arrive turn 1.
Yeah, so
arriving turn 1 is a really powerful ability.
But remember that you are going to have to be on the flanks, and you have to be outside of your opponent's deployment zone.
True,
it's quite
starting.
Yeah, no. Oh, you know, don't get me wrong.
Scary.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it is very good.
But
Attacks-wise, I think they're roughly the same, aren't they?
They are the same, yeah.
Well, the Exalted Eightbound have Eviscerators and Chain Fists.
Well, that's the thing. And you
So
can
they're a
actually
bit
give the
better
Exalted
against
Eightbound 2 Chain Fists, which then give them damage 3.
Which is quite nice.
Yeah, which is nasty.
That's a strength 9, right?
Yeah, like the Exalted, the Exalted Eightbound are undoubtedly are a killer unit.
But you can only take 3.
Yeah. So, you know,
Eightbound, you can take 6 if you wanted to.
You know, it's half, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Blood Fury, however, on the Eightbound that replaces the Blood Scent ability is while an enemy unit, excluding vehicle units, is within 6 inches of this unit, each time it's selected to fall back or perform an action on a 4+, they can't. That is obviously a really powerful ability
That is
as
nice.
well. Look, they're really nasty. They're horrible in combat. They don't have the firepower that Terminators do. And we should mention, points-wise, you're looking at...
I think the Exalted are 5 points a model more.
Yeah, so...
Not much.
It's not much. I think the Terminators are a competitive choice. They can still be loaded up, and because you've got that strat for put the extra damage on them as well. 2 up base save, 5 up invuln, still, 3 wounds. Personally, I'm liking the Terminators a lot.
You can take up to 10, I'm presuming?
Yeah. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't take Eightbound. I do think the Eightbound are competitive, but what I've discovered with the book...
2 units of free Eightbound is only 240 points. They're 40 points each. It's 240 points to just go turn 1, bang, on your flanks.
Yeah, which is really, really nice. Now, let's do a summary now. Thoughts on the book. The reason why I like the Terminators, and I'm personally just favouring them a little bit more over the Eightbound right now, is that we've discovered with the Blood Tithe mechanic that having the ability to rack up some Blood Tithe points in the shooting phase...
Yeah, you want shooting.
...is really, really important for the army. It just becomes really quite easy to just buff out your army really quickly or bring back valuable assets like Angron. Played a game with Hellbrutes where we've got multi-melters or las cannons. If you've got Terminators in there as well with the combi melters or combi plasma or whatever variety it is, being able to just kill a unit or 2 in the shooting phase as a vehicle, you're getting a bonus point there. It just really, really helps. So that's my... I actually think, to be honest, it's almost too easy to get the Blood Tithe.
Yeah, I think they... I love the Blood Tithe.
I think the mechanic is awesome.
I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
I just think there's a few elements of it which are... They're too... It's one of 2 things, and I know what will happen. Games Workshop will go too far, because they always do. Yeah. They'll go, here, well, we could apply this to balance it, or we could apply this. Let's apply both of them.
Yeah.
And it will just completely ruin the mechanic.
Yeah, well, I hope that doesn't happen, because the army's really good and really playable. I would say competitive.
I agree. I think
right now.
The Blood Tithe is basically, it's going to be really matchup dependent in some instances. Yeah. In other instances, it's just a win more button, and you just press that button and you go, well, I've already killed half your army in combat. I'm now even better. Yeah. There's a few which are, it's either too easy to get Blood Tithe or the Blood Tithe abilities are too cheap.
Yeah.
+1 AP for... Now think about it from like a Blood Angel's perspective.
Yeah.
You've got to wait till turn 3, or you've got to have a character doing that.
Yeah.
You go, I lost 2 rhinos, +1 AP, all go.
Yeah.
On top of AP2 already, on my basic guys. Let alone the AP6 that you could get to Angron.
Yeah.
AP6 on Angron, AP3, AP4, AP4 on Terminators. Like, nothing's getting a save at that point. Yeah. And at that point, you're sort of going, I'm rolling dice. Yeah. What are you doing, opponent?
Dying.
I guess I'll just die, have a Blood Tithe point.
Yeah.
Get +1 to hit, the exploding 6s. These are all abilities that you can get in other armies elsewhere. And I get the intent of the Blood Tithe is, against some armies, you're gonna need to make your stuff that, like, oh, you've lost half your army, but the other half of your army is now really hard as nails. Hard as butcher's nails, some might say.
Nice.
But there's gonna be some armies which go, oh dear. Yeah. You made a charge and you killed a rhino, or you killed 2 of my small, flanking units. I've got, units of infiltrators that have moved out onto the objective, or I've got a unit and you made like a really long bomb charge against them, and now you suddenly made, like, next turn, all of your stuff is just better, or tougher, or able to charge further, or I killed Angron. Oh, it took a little bit of effort, and there's going to be some armies which look at Angron and he goes, right.
Yeah.
There's going to be other armies which go, well, I kind of have to shoot Angron. Oh, everything else has killed me.
Tweaks are required, yeah.
It's a great mechanic. I think it just needs some tweaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Final thoughts from me about World Eaters. I think this is a really good army to get started.
Yeah, it really is actually.
If you're jumping into 40k, you want to have like a new army to work on or a new project, it's really good because you've got loads of new units.
Yeah.
Everything sort of feels new and shiny and cool.
Yeah.
They play exactly how you'd expect them to in terms of running forward, cleaving and murdering. And because of the way the Codex has been built and presented, it's not going to take a lot of brain power to really sort of like go through and make it what you want it to make. Because so much has been taken away in a positive way, it means that it's far more simple to make interesting lists, take the units you want to take, not be punished because your unit isn't as good as everything else, or because it doesn't benefit from 17 different stratagems. You can just build the army you want, paint the units that you like, and then you'll have an army that you can use at the end of it. And I think that's really good and quite a refreshing change from a new book.
I completely agree. And you can play it really fun, and have real casual games with your buddies, or you can build it really competitively as well. It is a really strong book. That's my final verdict. It's very strong. I would expect it to do very well on the competitive circuit soon, because 9th edition really does love combat armies, and this does combat real good. Let's see how it does. Let's see how it pans out. Obviously, this is a format update here for the 9th edition codexes.
Which we love.
We absolutely love it.
It's a shame it's taken this long into 9th edition.
It really is a shame. But that said, even though a lot of things have been taken out in this format, it hasn't reduced the quality of this book at all. In terms of a gaming book, it's really powerful. If you're a World Eaters fan, it's a good time to be worshipping Khorne. So with that in mind, thank you, bosses, for watching this video. If you liked what we did, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, go jump over to On Demand now, where we'll have the top units and some combos of how we could build this army competitively there. Plus, of course, that Super Smash Brothers game coming out very, very soon. For now, I've been Lawrence, you've been Chef, you've been Beard. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Lord Invocatus.
Yep.
Lord Invocatus.
Oh,